What do Ukrainians really think about Zelensky's letter to Putin? Let's take a look. What do you think about Zelensky's letter to Putin? Personally, I think it was a very dignified and powerful letter.
A link to the original letter can be found in the description of this video.
By insulting Putin and talking about how bad he is and how terrible everything is in Russia. Are we supposed to end the war? Everything is great on our side and victory is just around the corner? With this letter, he did everything to make sure there won't be peace. This isn't diplomacy, it's kindergarten stuff. I'm great and you're old, ha ha ha. The goal was never to end the war, but to show straight to people like that. It's just another argument for the collection. Putin doesn't want peace. We did everything we could. Well done, got your little paycheck. And if it's not about money, maybe it's time to stop feeling inferior in this life. Putin humiliated himself and his Russia. Zelensky doesn't even have to try. Zelensky should be trying to save our lives and end the war, not doing things that make sure it never ends. The wall later is just ordinary populism, just like the circus at the stadium before the elections. If only, unfortunately, this kind of constant rudeness instead of diplomacy doesn't lead to anything good. What else would you expect from Quartal 25? A circus, nothing more. But because of this circus, the war keeps going. Judging by this letter, it's not going to end. Read it, now it's completely clear that he wants to keep fighting to the very end. Has nothing to do with diplomacy. Quartal 25 put on a show for you again. We made an offer. Russia refused. A bunker KGB guy doesn't forgive personal insults. He doesn't give a damn about the situation or the front line. He won't react positively to this gesture and will level another city again, simply because he got offended. Funny, but what's the point? It won't affect the war or how long it lasts. But another body will be pulled from the rubble, and it won't be to one who wrote the letter. Hope I don't need to explain what I mean. That's exactly who this dignified letter was written for. The letter is stupid and was written for idiots. Pick power for the powerful. This clown doesn't want peace, and this letter proved it. A person can leave Quartal, but Quartal never leaves the person. Ukrainians, as always, fall for cheap populism instead of judging by actions. The clown show goes on. Just like the war, Patriot missiles are running low, but at least we got a powerful letter. Maybe we'll use it to stop the next massive missile attack. Powerful, exactly the kind of people this war writing for. The war will keep going until the last man. That's the level of Quartal 95. Ukrainians are praying for this show with their lives. It's all for show and poor populism. Seriously, a letter to Putin in Ukrainian? Look, for cheap populism and guys settling scores. Sure, it's great, but this isn't what presidents and diplomacy are about. A president operates on the international stage, where the rules are completely different. Nonsense. Intelligent people understand that both the Russian and Ukrainian governments benefit from this war lasting as long as possible. That's why this cheap PR stunt from him is simply laughable. Long ago, when Zelensky was performing in Kiev and Quartal 95, he occasionally had sketches like an address to Putin. This letter honestly gives me the feeling that it wasn't written by diplomats, but by comedy writing preparing for some cheap show. The text is written well, sure, sounds powerful and all, just like the rest of the speeches. But honestly, most of us don't really believe in that anymore. Back in 19, maybe people could still be sold on it, and for a while after 22, but not anymore. An open letter is what you write when you got nothing left to brag about, but still really want to say something. More like, Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, please help me blame everything on my predecessors. What is supposed to happen after this letter? Will the bunker guy stop the war and withdraw his troops from Ukraine? Will the bunker guy come to Kiev for negotiations? Or will this letter just make the bunker guy even angrier and he'll start launching even more missiles and shaheds at Ukraine? What exactly is supposed to happen? He's right, that's the basic logic. If Putin refuses to negotiate, he'll be blamed for not wanting to end the war, and support for Ukraine will likely increase. And right now, Putin has made almost no significant advances, while Russia is also facing problems in its oil sector. So if he refuses any path toward ending the war, even people on his own side may start asking why the war is still going. Like a piece of crap, you can immediately see that diplomatic style. Would you go to negotiations after receiving a letter like that? Especially if you were the one holding the power and resources and didn't really care about the cost. He beautifully rubbed the bunker guy's face in the dirt. The clone is looking for cheap hype, the phone buys are happy and everything seems fine, except the war still won't end. Especially beautiful were the deaths of the AFU soldiers in the Belgorod region, whose bodies nobody even came back for when the retreat happened. I guess that's what you mean, and it's probably better not to mention the bridgehead in Krinky. Powerful, and of course, we're totally independent, building dynasties and sending the two-piece to Moscow all by ourselves. There is one problem with that argument. When people genuinely want negotiations, they don't rub the other side's face in the dirt. This looks more like a performance for partners, so Zelensky can show that he supposedly wants negotiations. Taras, you're proof that it's possible to be both a PhD and an idiot at the same time. Yeah, what a powerful letter. Maybe he should stay quiet about other people's help. Now Putin is going to read it and be like, you know what, we really should negotiate. Looks like we messed up. Who is it even supposed to be for? What a mess. What there is to celebrate? Our Volodya is doing everything he can to make sure the war doesn't end. No sense. The whole letter is aimed at publicity and doesn't really say much. Maybe it's just another part of our propaganda. As for the war, it's probably go on for a few more years. So guys, pack your backpacks and go climb some mountains. Well, the situation is pretty much mirrored on our side. The difference is what we depend on the US and Europe. Putin burned through convicts near Bakhmut and North Koreans near Kursk, and it cost him next to nothing. Yeah, that's true, and a letter like this appeals to the pro-Ukrainian side of me, but we all know how Putin is going to react to that kind of tone. If this really wasn't coordinated with our allies and isn't something the US, for example, is supposed to use as leverage against Russia, then overall it just looks like more populism, kind of like the decree about the parade or the ban on negotiations with Putin. The leader of the free world, who talks about peace and democracy, is asking Europe to strip Ukrainians men of military age of their protection. The scariest part is that nobody told him to get lost. You'll protect Palestinians until the very end, but here they are even considering sending people off to be slaughtered. And then he writes in that letter that he cares about the people. There's a reason gangsters say they're going to take care of someone when they want to that person dead. This is Ukrainian-style democracy, especially funny, coming from the mighty leader who performed in Russia at the start of the ATO and dodged military service 4 times. Royalties from views there kept coming until 18, but sure.
I am 43 years old. I'm the president of this country. I'm not some loser.
It feels like this letter wasn't written for the Kremlin, but for the fanboys. This is all for show. Our president doesn't want the war to end, because for him that would be political suicide. Yeah, now Mosaichuk is probably going to cry on air while talking about the mighty leader's latest achievement. The good of the fanboys has delivered another message. Exactly everyone will be told to breathe through it, except the dynasty. That's exactly how it is. The mighty leader scrubbed up again, and people shallowed it and are even grateful. Powerful, unbreakable titanium. It's long been clear that ending the war isn't in his interest. This is more than a war now. It's a circus show. He's the main character, and everyone else is just extras. All he wants is to laugh, steal, humiliate people, and look like a hero. Fanboys, you still don't get it. For you, only ordinary people are ever to blame. That's exactly it. Everything Zelensky does is PR and demagoguery, aimed at people with an IQ below 70. It's sad to see how deeply my people have been brainwashed by all this power and resilience, that they can't see the obvious anymore. These days, critical thinking and understanding cause and effect is instantly labeled as IPSO. That's just an allusion to the painting the Zaporozhian Cossacks write later. Actually, it's neither for one side nor the other. The latter is meant for an external audience and for the war's donors. It would take a while to explain, but in the EU this will be sold as a win. Just listen to the kind of nonsense Rutte has been saying. It all lines up perfectly. Rutte shows up in Kiev with a smile, and voila, here comes the later Brussels postman Pechkin. Actually, that's exactly how it is. The fanboys just don't get that one four-time draft dodger will live for another country, while muscles will be flying towards their own heads. That's exactly it. A whole bunch of brain-dead idiots have already come crawling out and are celebrating that letter. A very good letter. Volodymyr Zelenskyy has once again proven that he is the best thing that has happened to Ukraine in the last 100 years. What does this even mean? In diplomatic terms, this is a failure. Putin may be wrong 1,000 times, and Zelensky may be right 1,000 times. But we all understand that personal insults won't bring the war any closer to ending. He'll ignore you later. The war will continue, and that's exactly what you need. For everyone else, it'll be, we made an offer but Russia refused. There are no idiots here, except for you personally. I see three audiences here: Putin himself, the Russian people, and our partners, both those having doubts now, Fico, Novrotsky, and those who continue to support us. The latter won't change more for Ukrainians. If anything, both farms will become active again, while Trump is busy with Iran. But the message that you've been in power for 26 years and only made things worse is aimed at them, and maybe at local fans of the Russian world too. So I doubt there's any point trying to convince them. In my opinion, the main takeaway from reading these comments, excluding the bots, is simple people are getting very tired of everything happening around them, and more of them are starting to understand, analyze and think for themselves. I think there's also a message to the Russian people hidden between the lines, because the president is showing his position openly, and for those in Russia who still had doubts about anything, this letter lays it all out exactly as it is. For Ukrainians, it means complete idiocy. You still want to keep stealing, committing genocide and killing, but history, guys, is already breathing down your necks. You're completely screwed and it's already smiling at you. Russia is already used to the fact that promises and letters from Zelensky and his partners aren't worth the paper they're writing on. What do you think about Zelensky's letter to Putin? And do you think it will have any positive consequences for Ukrainians? Let me know in the comments. You bring the subscription, I'll bring the like. Don't forget to check out the new videos and find us on social media.